Alrighty, I think people are coming in from the waiting room. So hello everyone, welcome to Tech Tuesday on this, I guess what is a very important day, November 3rd, Election Day. Hopefully I'm the last person who has to remind you because I'm sure you've gotten 20,000 texts from random people about it. But hopefully if you're here today, it means you've already voted. And if you haven't, hopefully it's a smooth process for you later on today. But other than that, today we're going to be talking about Qualtrics, specifically how to use the Qualtrics scoring feature. And while I'm giving kind of like an introduction here about what we're going to talk about today, I do have a URL up on the screen for a Qualtrics survey that I put together just so you can see how the scoring function works. I'm actually going to put it in the chat really quick. Give me 1 second. There you go. If you feel like you want to take it and open up another browser window. But just so you know, since we have a few people who've registered for today's session, if you do have any questions today, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be answering questions. And we also have Bridget McFadden, who's also, a great co-host and the very good Qualtrics user and educator. So we'll both be answering questions in the chat feature today. That is at the bottom of your Zoom screen. It's a little speech bubble, and you can just type in your questions there. I'm also recording today's session. So after we finish up with today's demonstration, I'll be sending the video recording as well as some links about scoring in Qualtrics so you can reference later at the end of the day via email. If you registered for today's session, I do have your email on file, so no worries about how I'm going to reach out to you. All right. So the URL is actually going to be at the bottom of every slide, and I will bring it up myself. So, if you don't quite have it, it's in the chat and it'll be appearing at the bottom if you still want to do it on your own. So let's move on. So scoring in Qualtrics. Oh yeah, I'm Vanessa. I don't know if I said that. And I use Qualtrics a lot, and I'm a communication specialist with ITS. So before we get into the scoring function, I'm assuming a lot of people on here have used Qualtrics, but if you have not, basically it's our official survey tool that's offered and supported by ITS. There's a ton of great features about Qualtrics. Because we have an enterprise license, we get a lot of features that wouldn't normally be available in tools that I've seen a lot of people use, like SurveyMonkey and things like that. It's pretty easy to use. There's a lot of different survey question types that you can use. We've got things like email triggers so that either you or respondents can get follow-up messages. You can reuse almost every piece of your survey in case you have to do things quarterly, monthly, and don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel. You could do things like participant panels, and there's no additional cost to departments to use Qualtrics. You don't even have to specially request access to it. It is available right now to you if you have an active CUID and password. You just have to go to wildcornell.qualtrics.com, log in, and you're ready to go. But about scoring in Qualtrics, so what scoring is in Qualtrics is just basically assigning numerical values to answers. And why would you want to add scoring to your Qualtrics survey? There's actually a few reasons, and these are just a few of them that I've put up on the screen. But if you want to do things like online quizzes or knowledge checks during a training session, Qualtrics is a great way to do that, to see, provide people a score and see how they're doing, if they really understand the material that you're presenting to them. You can also use it for self-assessments. If you are giving or doing a research study, say, on things like, I helped a department recently with a test on anxiety, measuring anxiety in respondents. You can add numerical values to kind of get a score that you can report, to the survey respondent, and that you can have for yourself, obviously, when you're measuring it. And then there's things like customer satisfaction surveys. Let's say a patient goes to your office and you want to know what they thought about their visit. You can do a Qualtrics survey with a scoring functionality in it, so that you can take that rating and determine whether, that's a good value or not based on a scale that you create. Not every question type in Qualtrics allows for scoring. Only a few of them do, and I've highlighted them on the screen. Probably the most common uses for scoring are the multiple choice, text entry, and then matrix. Obviously you can use other ones here like slider, side by side, and net promoter score. But you know, I haven't seen that as much as, you know, other examples. But you know, descriptive text, for example, there's no need for a score for that, or graphics. So, you know, there's really, these make the most sense to have a score type. Let's move into the demo. Bridget, have we had any questions so far about what I've shown?
Nope.
Okay, awesome. Then we're just gonna move into the demo. So guys, this was the survey link that I sent you. And this is gonna be a little different because I've typically just done this in person, and I've had people just shout out the answers to me of what they think the correct answer is. But in this case, feel free to put in the chat what you think the correct answer is, okay? So we're gonna try it that way. So let's do the first question. People with xanthophobia fear, and we've got some answers here: razors, the color yellow, dryness, foreign languages, and jealousy. Just in the chat, give me some answers, guys. What do you think the correct answer is? What have we got? Oh, we had some, oh, we got dryness, okay. And then somebody asked, can you provide the Qualtrics website again? Sure, that's wildcornell.qualtrics.com. And I'll be sending that via email too, Raina, so don't worry about that, okay? Anyone else? We've got dryness. Any other answers that are
We
coming?
have foreign languages, color yellow, jealousy yellow.
Okay.
Foreign languages.
All right. So the correct answer that I saw a few of you put is the color yellow, okay? I think that it's actually like derived from Greek, and I know that there's some medical conditions like xanthoderma, I think is like a yellowing of the skin. So for the people who got it right, if you are a doctor, awesome. But it is the color yellow. So this actually, I'm not sure if this has changed because I haven't updated the question in maybe a couple of years, but I think it's still correct. So adjusted for inflation, what is the highest grossing movie of all time from these choices? Sound of Music, E.T., Star Wars, Gone with the Wind, and Titanic. What do you guys think it is?
We have a Titanic, Gone with the Wind, Titanic. There's
a lot of Titanics.
Yeah.
You know, I actually thought it was Titanic. It's actually Gone with the Wind. I was surprised because Titanic made so much money, but I guess in its heyday and adjusted for inflation, Gone with the Wind is the right answer. I was shocked too. Just so you guys know, I'm a huge collective noun nerd, so I love these questions. I might be the only one, but what do you call a group of peacocks? Is it an ostentation, a congress, a huddle, a convocation, or pandemonium? Okay. Best answers, guys.
Congress, ostentation, Congress.
Any other answers? I think Congress is the most popular answer. It's actually Maria Wright. You are actually right, as your name says. It is an ostentation. I think Congress is like for weasels. But yes, that is, I do like a Congress. And then what is the smallest country in the world from these options? San Marino, Liechtenstein, Malta, Monaco, and Vatican City. Any answers? Oh, I see Vatican City, Monaco. Any other answers? Vatican City, Liechtenstein. Okay, the correct answer is actually Vatican City. I think it is, I'm trying to remember when I read it. It was 0.2 square miles, which if that doesn't mean anything to you visually, just think of the island of Manhattan and shrink it by like 120 times. So that's how small Vatican City is. I think one of their borders is like 2 miles long. It is very teeny, teeny, tiny. And last question. So how many lights do you think were used to decorate the 2016 Rockefeller Center Christmas tree? We got 50,000 from Maria, 100,000, 200,000. This is actually a hard one because when you look at the tree, you think it's like an immense amount of lights. It's actually just 50,000. I was also surprised by this one too. I really thought it was like in the 200,000 range, but in 2016, it was 50,000 lights. So thank you all, by the way, who participated via chat. I know it's not like the easiest way to answer these, but let's submit our answers, okay? So I actually am showing my score in 2 ways here, and I'm gonna go over how I did that. So the automated way to show scores in Qualtrics is actually everything that's in yellow. And basically what Qualtrics does is it tallies up a percentage, and then it tells me the answers that I got right. And if I'd gotten some wrong, it would have like kind of like a red X next to it, and then tell me what the correct answer is. So in this case, we got them all right. And then up here, where I have you answered 5 out of 5 questions correctly, that's actually something that I customize, and I'm gonna show you how to do both today, okay? So let me just click out of this and get into how I did that. So let me go back into my Qualtrics dashboard, which again is weillcornell.qualtrics.com, okay? So let me go into my dashboard, and I am going to go here. So this is the same quiz that we just took together. And this one has no scoring in it. So I have to add the scores. How do I do that? I'm gonna go to tools, right? And then scoring is right here under tools, and it's just called scoring. So I'm gonna click it, and then something happens to your little survey dashboard, and you're taken to it like a special scoring screen, okay? And I have a category here called score, which is fine. I'm not gonna change that right now. I'll change it later when we talk about some other things that you can do with scoring. But basically I have no scores yet, but I can input scores anywhere I want to in the survey. In this case, I want to give a score to the correct answer so it can tally up and people can know how they did afterward. So when you add a numerical value to any answer in Qualtrics, you can have whole numbers, you can have negative numbers, and you can even include decimals. So just to show you how that looks. So remember, xanthophobia was people who fear the color yellow. So when I click on it, it automatically gives me a score of 1. I can make that number anything I want. I can make it 10, I can make it 20, I can make it worth 100 points. It doesn't matter. It could be anything I want. And you'll notice that when I add a score to it that is a positive whole number, the score is highlighted in green. Let's say that this, I want to have a correct answer here. If I don't have, any kind of number next to the other answers, I have it set to not count as anything. It basically is counted as 0. If I wanted to be a little more punitive and make it so that if you answer a wrong answer, that you get a negative score, I could do that. So with razors, I could do -1, and you'll see how it changed to red if I give it a negative score. I'm not gonna be that mean, I'll make it 0. Or just leave it blank. So with Qualtrics, all you have to do is add some type of numerical value to the fields that you want to. Oh, and again, I think I had mentioned that you could add decimals, so you could do that as well. Decimals might be more helpful for a survey question where you have a question and say, select all the answers that are true. You can make them all worth ½ a point, so they add up to like a whole integer. It's really up to you. I also have an option here that says auto. Auto is a really cool function if you are doing survey scoring that requires a scale. So if I click auto, you'll see it goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously, if you have a scale that does that, it's helpful. But if not, you can just clear it and just do this manually. So I'm gonna set my score for each one of the correct answers. We had Vatican City, and we had, there we go. All right, so I have all my scores set up. I want each correct answer to get 1 point, okay? I also have scoring options here on the right-hand side. You'll see categories right here. I'm gonna go into that later. But remember when I showed you how my scores looked like at the end of the survey? So this is the automated way to do it. I can decide that I want at the end of the survey for you to see your score and how you did. That was that yellow section that showed you what the correct answers were and then what the wrong answers would have been. I can do it at the end of the survey, or I can even do it after each question. Normally, I don't do after each question. There may be specific cases where that might work. But for me, I feel like if I showed people how they were doing as they were taking the survey and they were getting a lot of answers wrong, that it might be very discouraging and kind of not make them not want to finish or something like that. So normally, if I'm going to show a score at all, I'm going to save it to the end of the survey. Granted, you don't have to do either of these, and you can customize the survey scoring to your liking, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit. But I'll just, for this particular survey, keep it at the end. There's also this default option that's always checked that you can uncheck if you'd like. But basically, all the blank boxes where I didn't put a score, I just want this Qualtrics to treat these empty boxes as a 0. I don't want them to have any value whatsoever. So this is usually checked as default, but you can change this if you want to, okay? And when you make any changes to your scoring options, you have to hit save, all right? So this is how it works with multiple choice. When you want to go back to your survey, you go to back to editor on the top left. And you keep you can add more questions if you want to your survey. So that's how it works with multiple choice. Let me show you how it works with actual text entries. So I'm going to create a new question, and my question is going to be, who is the person giving this demonstration? That would be me. And this is a multiple choice question. I'm going to change it over on the right-hand side to a text entry, okay? So how do you score a text entry question? Let's go back to tools and we'll do scoring, all right? So now when I go back here, I see this new question, and now I have to provide what the right answer is. So the right answer is me, my name, Vanessa, okay? And I can do this in a few ways. I can give my first name, I can give my whole name, and maybe somebody only remembers my last name. I'll make that an answer too. And then I would add a score to each one of these options, right? Anyone can answer any of these options and it would be considered a correct answer, okay? If they put someone else's name, it would not count at all, okay? And just in case you're wondering, if someone were to write my name in small caps and they didn't capitalize anything, it would still count. So it's not case sensitive. So as long as they put some variant of my name, I have decided that they will get a score of 1, okay? So let's see how that works in the preview. I'm going to put some right and wrong answers. I'm just gonna Christmas tree a little bit, no pun intended with the Christmas tree. And I'm gonna type my name in lowercase. And you'll see I scored 3 out of 6 correctly, good job. And then here's my scoring. I got 50% right. And as you can see, as I mentioned before, now that I have some wrong answers, it shows me what I got wrong. And it highlights in this pale green what the correct answer was. And you'll see here, even though I put my name in lowercase letters, it did count Vanessa as a correct answer. And then it showed me what the other right answers could have been, okay? Any questions about that type of scoring so far, where we just have one score, we're showing the answers, and that's it? Anything in the chat?
I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay, no problem. So we are going to go back out into my survey dashboard, and we're going to talk about a specific type of scoring, which is, well, what if I'm doing a study and I don't want to measure just one score? I have different things that I'm measuring, and I want to make sure that they're all measured separately and that the scores don't basically tabulate all together. So you can do that in Qualtrics. I'm going to show you an example of that here. So I like this a lot because it's actually like a real world scenario that I was tasked to help with, which was the department wanted to use this burnout survey to send out to healthcare professionals and see how, you know, basically they were faring at work, if they were getting emotionally drained at work and things like that. But they wanted to measure 3 different things. They wanted to measure emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and personal accomplishment, okay? So that's 3 different things that they're tabulating, and they wanted to know how they could do that. All right, so they have here, what was it, 22 different questions that they ask on this scale. And you'll notice that on the scale, I have a number assigned to it. I normally would never do this like on an actual survey, but I've done it in this example so that you know what these options, like what the value is supposed to be when I start putting this together. Okay, so let's go into tools and see how we do this. Okay, so you'll notice the category is just score. Score is great as a category if you just are tracking one thing, like in my little quiz that I gave you, my general knowledge quiz. I just had one score, it was really simple, and it tabulates at the end and it gives it to you and it lets you know how you did. But if I wanted to do 3 different categories, like I want to do in this survey where I have emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, personal accomplishment, how can I do that? So first you have to set that up in your scoring options, all right? And you need to create new categories. So I'm going to delete the score category because I don't need it. I need 3 different categories with 3 different names. I'm going to put new category, and I am going to do emotional exhaustion. Oops. I'm going to do new category again, depersonalization. And when I'm done, basically, I'm just clicking out of it or hitting enter, and the category is created. And one more category, personal accomplishment. All right. And of course, if you wanted more categories, you can continue to create as many as you like. That makes sense for your survey. If you made a mistake and need to delete a category, you can go here to the gear on the right-hand side and just hit delete, and that would get rid of your category. In this case, I don't want to show the score at the end of the survey, the automated one anyway that Qualtrics creates. I'm going to customize this myself because what I want to do, my end goal essentially is, I want you to take this survey, and then at the end of the survey, I want the message to say, hey, you scored this for emotional exhaustion, and this is what it means. You scored this for depersonalization. This is what that means. And you scored this for personal accomplishment, and this is what that means. And kind of give people an assessment, a self-assessment of what their wellness and well-being is after they take the survey, okay? And then probably give them follow-up information on things that they can do. Okay, so I've made these 3 categories. I changed this. I'm gonna keep this the same, and I'm gonna hit save. All right, so now instead of category score at the top, it's got all 3 ready for me to do the scoring. So I'm gonna score the variables here that have to do with emotional exhaustion, okay? And to do that, all you have to do, it's super easy, just click on it, okay? And item number 1 is going to be part of this category of emotional exhaustion, all right? In this case, it automatically goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Unfortunately, that's not how the scale goes in this case, so I have to manually go in and change it, which is fine. All right, and all I'd have to do at this point is just select the items in my survey question that have to do and measure emotional exhaustion. So honestly, I'm not gonna remember all of them, so I'm just gonna kind of Christmas tree it at this point, and pick these options. In fact, I'm even gonna do the scale here as 1 to 7, just to make it a little easier so it matches up with these guys. I don't want you guys to be on this call all day waiting for me to manually input these numbers. So after I've selected the items that have to do with and measure emotional exhaustion, all I have to do is go up to my category and hit depersonalization now. And you'll see that everything has been cleared, all right? So now I just choose the items that have to do with depersonalization, all right? And I'm just gonna select some, and Christmas tree it again. It doesn't matter if I picked them before. Maybe they, you know, measure both. All right. And now that I have those set up with my scores, I am going to do personal accomplishment. And I'm just gonna pick some and I'm done. All right. So now I'm gonna go back to my editor and the scoring is done. But now I've got that issue where I want to personalize the end of the survey to give them their score, right? I'm going to use something that's called piped text, which is one of the most useful features of Qualtrics. Piped text, what that does is it essentially takes a respondent's information that they've input from any part of your survey, and then you can pull it out, or rather pipe it, into any other part of the survey that you want, okay? So in this case, I'm going to go into my survey options, and I am looking for, there we go. So usually when you make a Qualtrics survey, under survey termination, this is the option that will be defaulted. So default end of survey message. So usually when you take a Qualtrics survey, the default end of survey message is, thank you for participating, your score has been recorded, or your submission has been recorded, which doesn't tell you much other than we got your stuff. If you want to do a custom end of survey message, in this case where I give them their score and explain what it means to them, I can do a custom end of survey message. And then what you're going to do if you want to create a message from scratch is you're going to go to your library. It'll have your name and not mine. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, I have a ton of messages that I've saved, but I'm going to create a new message and I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to call this burnout message. Today is 11/3. And now you'll see something that looks kind of like Word. And this is where you can start typing your end of survey message. So in this case, I'm going to type something like, thanks for taking our survey. Here is how you scored. Okay. And again, I want to tell them how they did in all three categories, right? So I am going to say, for emotional exhaustion, you scored I'm going to leave a blank for now. It's going to be a number out of, and I'm making this number up, 20 points. This means blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm going to copy that just for the sake of time, and then change these categories to depersonalization and personal accomplishment. Perfect. Okay. So what I want to do with piped text is I want Qualtrics to basically tabulate their scores for each of these categories and then dump that score automatically in there. So I don't have to do any work, essentially. Qualtrics is going to do all the work for me. Piped text is right here. Anytime you see this little icon of the letter A in brackets, that is where piped text is an option for you. So piped text, I want to pipe. So there's lots of different options and data that you can pipe into your survey. You could pipe in survey questions, links, date and time, things like that. But in this case, because I have scoring available in my survey, I'm going to pipe in the scores themselves. So the first category, emotional exhaustion, I want to pipe in their actual score. And you'll see that Qualtrics just puts like a gobbledygook link in here that it will be a number when you actually take the survey. But this is just a code that Qualtrics uses so that it can tabulate the score and dump it into your survey wherever you want, okay? And I'm gonna do the same thing here. Again, I am clicking the pipe text option, I'm going to scoring, and now I am going to depersonalization score. And that changes for me. And one more time, pipe text, scoring, personal accomplishment this time, and score. Awesome. What's nice about the creating new messages feature is that it works like Word in that you can kind of make things a little more prominent. So in this case, maybe I want to like bold the categories. Oops. And maybe I want to make their score prominent by making it, you know, not just bold, but maybe a color too. So it stands out a little more. So maybe I'll make it green. So it's easier to see on the screen, and it'll be easier for you guys to see on the screen too. Let me just do this real quick. Bear with me. And one more. All right, perfect. So when you're done with your survey message that you've personalized with pipe text, all you have to do is hit save and save again. All right. So let's see how this actually works. I'm going to preview it first. Okay, so again, I'm just going to put random answers here. with our survey score. And just bear with me because there's like 22 of these. So I'm just going really fast down here. Let me do some at the ends because I haven't done that much, and some in the middle. Oops, one more, I missed one. And next. Awesome. So I took the survey, and now you'll see that my end of survey message is a little more customized. It looks a little nicer than the automated one that kind of has like the yellow formatting and things like that, at least in this case for these purposes. And it shows me what the score was. It piped in the score for each of these. So I scored a 19. Obviously, it doesn't make sense. There's 29 out of 20 points. I was just kind of guessing. But it gives me a score as the respondent. And then if you tell me what this means, like as the survey respondent, I can figure out, you know, am I emotionally exhausted? Am I suffering from depersonalization? Do I have a sense of personal accomplishment? If you explain to me what that numeric value means, I can figure it out. And then maybe if you'd written some next steps in the survey message as well, I can figure out what I can do about it. So that's how the scoring works for creating different categories. Before I move on to the next part, do we have any questions so far of things I can show?
Okay. Oh, Andy says we will all have to take the MBI tomorrow morning.
Oh, yes. Anxiety is perhaps very high among many of us. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Thank you, Andy. That made me chuckle quite a bit. All right, so.
Okay, wait, here's one.
Okay,
how do you include multiple messages for one category?
Multiple messages for one category. I'm not sure what you mean. Could you give me an example? Is that Megan?
Megan, yeah.
Megan, if you could write like kind of an example in the chat, I'm going to move on to the next part, but then I'll try to answer your question a little easier. I'm not sure, I guess the use case. And if I can figure out that, I can definitely answer your question a lot better. Let me go back into Qualtrics. All right. And I'm going to go back into my dashboard here. So, okay, I've added scoring to my survey. So how do I even find the results? Like I've set it up so that people know their results, but what do I need to do as a survey creator to pull up my own data? Very easy. So I'm going to go back into the quiz we took earlier today together. And this survey, actually, I think it has over 100 people who've responded. So I should have quite a lot of data. And there's two ways that I can pull it. One is if I want to see the raw data of how every single person answered. And that would be under data and analysis. So I'm just going to wait for a second. I hate this view. If you've done any of my Qualtrics sessions before, this means nothing to me. It doesn't even show me all of the questions. It only cuts off at 4. So what I normally do is I export everything out of Qualtrics. Here under export and import, I export the data, and you could do it in a few ways. You could do it as a CSV, an Excel file, TSV. You can put it into SPSS as a statistical file. I'm just going to do CSV, and I'm going to download it. Usually the download is pretty quick. It depends on how many people have answered, obviously. If you've got like thousands of people who've answered your survey, it might take a little while. But basically, this is going to open into an Excel file, and you're going to get a lot of information that you might not need, such as when somebody started the survey and when they finished taking it, or how long and the number of seconds it took somebody to take your survey. I really don't care about that stuff. What I care about starts in this header in Q1, which is question 1. So just to make it easier to look at, I'm going to delete all these columns and make these a little wider for you to see. Awesome. Okay. So guys, all of these, every single line item is how somebody answered my survey. Okay. So I've got question 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But what's nice about Qualtrics is that once you add scoring, at the very end, you'll see a special section that says SC0 or score. And this gives me the tally of every single person and how they answered. So right now I only have one score, but if I had those different categories, like I did for the burnout survey, I'd actually have 3 columns here with 3 different scores, and they would be labeled as, emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and personal accomplishment. So if I have this data and want to put it into a program like SPSS to like, analyze it, I could do that because I have these numerical values here. Or I could just work with them in Excel and make charts that way, or anything that I need to do. Okay. Or put it in a program, like you take your Excel file and put it in a program like Power BI or something like that to visualize it. But this is how you would essentially get the raw data. You're going to go to data and analysis and just export the file into the file format that makes the most sense for you. Okay. I'm going to minimize that. But if I wanted to get an overview of how everybody did, kind of a summary, I would go into reports. And reports is nice because it's just loading for a second. It's giving me visualizations of like very, basic ones, but visualizations nonetheless of how people answered. So I can see that most people are getting this question right. This is question 1. I can move on to question 2. And I've got a cool little donut chart going on here of how people answered the question. Again, most people think it's Titanic, which is fine because I thought it was too. If I want to change any visualization as a reminder, all I have to do is click on it. And on the right-hand side, you'll see a new menu has popped up. I could make this a bar chart too if I want, just to make it maybe a little easier to see. Again, I could go back to pie chart. I could show like a gauge, which could be cool, I guess. Not in this case, but never mind. I'm going to put it back to pie chart. I can change colors, change the values of the legend, things like that, play around with the axes. But again, because I have a score associated with this, I have this special little category right here that will show me the score. And it doesn't just show me the score, it shows me cool little summaries of like the minimum, the maximum, what the average is, standard deviation, variance, and the total number of people who've taken my survey. So it's a really cool way to go into reports and just kind of click your score category just to get these numbers like very quickly off the bat, and just kind of see how people did overall. So it is 12:38. Awesome. That was scoring in a nutshell. Does anyone have any questions, or perhaps we had a follow-up from, I think it was Megan.
Oh yeah. So her follow-up was, so for emotional exhaustion, 10 means something.
Oh, okay. So you're trying to say that like if somebody got a value, so you basically, depending on the value, they might get a different message, perhaps?
Yes.
So unfortunately with Qualtrics, there's only one message that you can show at the end, all right? Or generally, there might be other ways to show different survey terminations, or like branch off, like if they answer a certain way, like the survey ends and it doesn't give them any details or stuff. But generally, it's best to kind of put all the details into that one final message. For emotional exhaustion, let's say they have a 10 and it means something. I would put a scale essentially, like let's say that the max was like 30 points. And if they got a 1 to 10, it means this. If they got an 11 to 20, it means this. And a 21 to 30, it means that. I would just give them the whole scale, to be honest, instead of like giving them different survey outcome endings, like a choose your own adventure. That would make survey creation kind of a pain for you, I think. But I think it might be more valuable for them to know what the entire scale is and how, they are, like where they fall on the entire scale. Okay, perfect, Megan. I'm glad I answered your question. Are there any other questions that I might be able to help with? I know we've got a few minutes. If there aren't any questions, that's also fine, because what I'll just do is send some the follow-up details about how to use the scoring function. And then if you do have follow-up questions about that, feel free to just email me back, and that's not a problem at all. And I'll do my best to help. But it looks like, I'm not sure, my computer's lagging a little bit, so I'm not sure if I'm not seeing them or if they're just not coming up, but that's also okay. Anything on your end, Bridget?
No, I'm not seeing anything either.
All right. Well, that's okay. We've only got 5 minutes left. I pretty much got through the whole time slot. So again, Thank you so much for coming, Bridget. Thanks, you know, for co-hosting as always. Hopefully nobody is burned out tomorrow. Please do some, as the youth say, self-care. And again, I'll be following up with everybody with some helpful information and the video recording later today. So have a good one. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week for another Tech Tuesday. Bye, guys.